It says ready to go
Here
live.
we go. Here we go. Oh,
Wow, 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 wow. We are here, man, on a Monday evening double M live. And on the eve of our season 4 premiere. What the hell are we doing here on the eve of Double M's season 4 premiere? And we got our boy with us, Jet, in the building. It's madness, man, but let's not beat around the bush, guys. Last night was wild. Oscars, Will Smith, Chris Rock. That's why we're here. We're here for instant reaction episode on what are we calling this? The Will Smith smack heard across the world?
the smack heard around the world. Wow, what a way to put it. But yeah, that's literally what you can call it because like we said, we're not going to beat around the bush. Jet, Marv, I don't think there's ever been a wilder situation on live TV that I can think of. The only thing I can think of, and you guys, if you have other ones, the only thing I can think of is the time when Kanye West went up and snatched the mic out of Taylor Swift's hand and said what he said about Beyonce had the best album. Other than that, I can't think of another situation that is even close to what we saw. And Kanye West was bad. That situation was bad.
Yeah.
Will Smith, what he did, blew that out the water 20, 30, 40, 50 times worse than that Kanye Taylor Swift situation.
I mean, yeah, Marv and I were tweeting back and forth as it was happening last night. It was like, I feel like I almost manifested this podcast. I was like, I need to come on. Like, we need to talk. I can't just sit here and tweet about it. Like, I need to actually talk about it. Someone needs to give me a forum to be able to say all the things I want to say about this. Because, all right, I watch the Oscars every year. I don't know why. I guess I'm like a glutton for punishment. Is it entertaining every year? No. Are the movies that I really like ever nominated? Rarely. But I still watch it every year and just expect it to, kind of go. It's going to run, it's 40 minutes over, whatever. And like this was like, I mean, it like made the entire show so uncomfortable. Like, which is like
Awkward.
not why you watch. You're like, oh, I want to see, what movies are going to win. And like, if anybody's going to say something funny in their speeches and like who they're going to, tease a little bit. But like, it was one of the most uncomfortable viewing experiences I've ever had. And like, it's just like, it's hard to describe watching it live. You're like, because there's that initial confusion where it's like, was that real? And then you're like desperate for information on Twitter. And all you have for people to like confirm or deny is everybody who's just like ever watched wrestling in their lives. People saying, oh, this is a work or this is real. Like it was, I think somebody tweeted that it was one of the top 5 nights ever in Twitter history. And I kind of agree. It was just like, it was the perfect microcosm of events. It was like, oh, boring award show. Oh, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the face. And then everybody, like, it's like the world went to a halt. No one was talking about Russia and Ukraine anymore. No one was talking about, anything else except for this. It's like the world stopped because Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the face. It was wild.
Yeah, man. Like, it's gonna be one of those things where people are gonna be like, "Where were you?" I tell you this: I don't watch the Oscars. Don't ever plan to. I knew that Will Smith was up to finally get an Oscars for himself. I was gonna see it the next day, do my congratulations retweet, and move on with my life. I was in bed, ready to watch Atlanta because Atlanta has come out. I'm like, all right, I'm about to watch Atlanta. Yeah, I'll probably knock and finish the rest the next day. And then one of my boys hits the group chat and just goes, in the most nonchalant way, Will Smith just smacked Chris Rock. So naturally, I go on Twitter. Like, what? Let me see who's talking about Will Smith. And it just blows up. At first, people like, oh, you guys are stupid. This is fake, obviously. Da da da. So I'm ready about to go back to watching Atlanta, and then it became a firestorm online. I Let me just say, I stayed up till 2 a.m. I ain't watching no Atlanta. It's just the conversations, the think pieces, everything that wrapped around this smack just took over my night. And then, as we all know, the next day, as in right now, it's just taken a life of its own, which we knew it would. Mike, you mentioned Kanye and um what was it,
Taylor
Taylor Swift.
Swift. Yep.
Twitter wasn't popping like that then.
Sure was not.
You know, it just happened to be that VMAs, everyone was watching it, and it took its life of its own, obviously, and this lives on forever. We'll never forget that. This right here, due to social media and like you have sports shows talking about it, Bleacher Report gave me a notification about it. It just blew up everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I was asleep. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was asleep when this all popped off. Smooth Sunday. Um, I went to bed. Celtics won. I was feeling good. Celtics were in first place. I'm like, man, this is a great way to go to sleep. What, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30? Let me go take my ass to bed and get ready for the work week. I wake up to about 300, 400 messages. And when you wake up to your group chat with that many messages, you know something went down. And before I even clicked on the messages to see what was said, I said, damn, I missed something crazy. I did not expect I was going to read and watch a clip of Will Smith walking onto the stage at the Oscars and slapping a man in the face. I tell you, it's been, 24 hours or whatever, how long it's been. And I watched that video maybe 50 times. And no matter how many times I watch it, it still doesn't seem real. Like, Will Smith walked on the stage at the Oscars, the biggest award show in like U.S. history, the biggest award show that gets put on.
No, it's the biggest award show.
The biggest award show in the history of the United States. And he smacked a man on live TV. Like, it's I don't know about y'all, but to this very moment, it's still mind-blowing to me.
Well, Mike, isn't it like, you remember those things, Mad Libs, like when you're kids, you'd like fill out the thing, it'd be like
the adjectives,
put an
adverbs.
adjective here. Now it'd be like, okay, it's like a Mad Lib. It's like Chris Rock got slapped by Will Smith at the Oscars. It's like, you have to. Is this real? Like, how did it happen? Like, and Marv makes such a good point with Twitter being what it is now, and like social media being the dominating form of how people really communicate in 2022, it just took it to a whole nother level. Like Mike said, like, yeah, the Kanye West thing was like, obviously it was in the news for so long afterwards, and people watched it, and YouTube was popular then. But like the instant reaction that you can get from Twitter is just so different in terms of how you talk about something than anything else. And there's like a few times that I can remember being like just glued to Twitter. Like Marv said, like he was up till like 2 a.m. Like I couldn't stop refreshing it and checking it either. It was like the only time I remember, and I'm probably forgetting another time where I did this too, was like the night of the marathon bombing, when they were looking for the people who were responsible. Like Twitter was like nonstop with all that sort of stuff. Like, I think it was this or this happened. And like, this obviously wasn't nearly as serious as that. People died at the marathon bombing. That was a, legitimate terrorist attack. This is, Chris Rock getting slapped. But just, it's amazing that like, it was like a moment, like you said, Marv, like, where were you when this happened? Which up until now, moments like that where were you when, President Kennedy was assassinated, or where were you when September 11th happened? And like, this seems so minor, but it's such like now it's going to be like a huge part of cultural history, which is absurd.
This is going to live on. Like, I see Simpsons doing episodes, the Family Guys, the
Saturday
SNL.
Night Live, yep.
Like this is going to live on forever. Like the kids who never knew or didn't get a chance yet to know who Will Smith is or Chris Rock, this is their first memory of them because they're gonna see it everywhere online and on their TikToks and such. So let's break this down
Yes,
because there's
please.
there's different angles we have to talk about through all of this. So we really got to be, and everyone who's watching, make sure you hit the comments. Let us know what your thoughts and feelings are. But we really need to break this down piece by piece, person by person, and get our thoughts on how all of this resolved.
Who do we
So let's
start with?
let's start with the main culprit. Let's let's start with Will Smith, man. Like, what are your thoughts? First of all, what are your thoughts on Will Smith getting on stage and smacking Chris Rock? Let's get this out the way right now. What are your thoughts when you first saw it? How are you feeling about it now after 24 hours listening to 100 of people having their own takes? What's going through y'all head knowing that Mike said he still can't believe it's real? Like, what's your thoughts? Let's start off with Jet.
I guess my initial thought was when he was walking up to the stage, I was like, oh, this is, they're friends. They've known each other, for a long time. This is, just like a little bit that they're doing. So it was like, okay, like another like Oscars bit. And then once they like bleeped out, it was like about 30 seconds of silence. You're like, okay, something's actually going on here. This isn't just like a little bit. And then my immediate thought was like, wow, Will Smith just completely hijacked the entire like award ceremony and all these. He arguably is the most famous person on the planet, most famous actor on the planet, because he's been doing it for so long and everybody knows who he is. He's been in so many of the top grossing movies and, Fresh Prince, and now there's the Bel Air show. And my initial thought was like, after I realized it was real, it was like, wow, he just set the worst example for all these kids who are like his fans and saying, and parents tell him, resolve things with your words, not with violence. And like, okay, a slap isn't, a straight up punch in the face or anything like that. But I was just like, wow, I did not think this was in his personality to do something like this. That was my initial thought.
I agree 100%. Will Smith has been, throughout the course of his career and being in the public light, he's been like a model citizen. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's never been any real trouble with Will. Like, he's never been like arrested. I don't think he's been arrested for anything, or like there's nothing that's really popped off negative for Will Smith. He's put out movies. He has his family and whatnot, but him personally he's never really been in the public eye in a negative way. Now, I'm going to talk about some other stuff for sure, but Will Smith, the person, like, he's a great guy. For him to go on the stage, smack Will Smith, and get off the stage.
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Then get off the stage and yell at the man like he did. Even to right now, I'm still looking at Will Smith every time I watch that clip, and I'm like, yo, who is that? Will Smith curses in real life? I know he maybe, he plays movie roles, Mike Lowry, and this and that, but all the interviews and he's active on IG, posting videos and different stuff. He's active on YouTube, posting long ass YouTube videos. And I never heard Will Smith talk like that in my life, other than in the movie.
No, it's like goofy family stuff, right? Like he's like the ultimate stuff. Family man.
Traveling and doing stuff with his kids and his wife. But to get off that stage and yell 2 times, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. And then the first time, it's like the people in the audience is laughing because they're probably still like, yo, what's going on here? Will Smith. And then the second time, you can hear the bass. And you can see the nostrils flaring. And then you see it in his eyes. And his mannerisms like, nah, you didn't hear me, Chris Rock. Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. Now the place is dead silent. Now the people behind him in the view of the camera, they're like, "Oh my God!"
Lupita's reaction in the back is amazing.
Now and then Chris Rock, and then the silent, and Chris Rock's like, "Dude, it's a GI Jane joke," like. And Will Smith's just like, yeah, nah, keep her name out your mouth. And the place is silent. Chris Rock's like, all right, dude, like take it easy. Again, there's much more to talk about, but just going off of what I saw from Will, I never expected to ever see Will react in that manner, whether it's the slap, whether it's what he had to say. I never thought that could be in Will Smith's character.
Yeah, Sam brings up the man was tired. We can get to why the smack happened. You know, why we transition it. I think the move was weak. I know some people. This is where it gets controversial, right? So some people are praising Will Smith, and some people on my side are just like, that ain't it. That ain't it at all. First of all, to just go on stage and smack somebody and then turn your back on them and walk away, that's not cool. Like, I just don't even see grown men slapping. Like, why not? If you're gonna go for it, you might as well give them a hook. You might as well give them a hook. Like, what grown man slapping another grown man? Like, what are you trying to? That's what, you a pimp?
If you feel that upset about what Chris Rock said,
you go with the hook. You
slap.
Someone said someone said like a groin shot too. Like if you're really pissed at somebody like that, like a knee to the balls.
Nah, you a man. If you feel that upset,
your heads.
You going up there, you punching him in the face.
But why? Like a slap. I don't. That right there is weird. Then he turned away. Like he slapped and turns away and walks
immediately.
Walks right back. If you know anything, and I brought this up with what's it, Marcus Morris. You don't hit somebody and just turn your back away from them. Like you deserve to get hit, but you smack someone. Stay right up front. Chris Rock wasn't gonna do anything. We're gonna talk about Chris Rock and how he handled himself in general, but the way what Will Smith, I personally think it was weak. It could have been handled 1,000 different ways, but let's talk about why. Sam kind of alluded to it. He said Will is tired. He's tired AF. Look, man, we've done pods on this already, Mike. We've had conversations of people who don't know. Will's been going through it for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Jada's been throwing his name out in all different disrespectful types of ways. We know about August Alsina. We know about how, what she said the last time we did a pod, Mike. What was the thing that she said? Will's not doing it right in bed or something like that.
His sex game is weak, basically.
Oh, Jesus.
Talking about his sex game is weak, and naturally in this era, things like that you're getting roasted. So for 2 years, he's been getting toasted by everybody, celebrities, people on Twitter, Instagram. Even I'm a big fan of Will Smith. I love Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Anything Will Smith drops, I try to make sure I watch. Started looking at the man a little different. Like, you can't be having your wife just go out here and just saying these wild things, and then he goes on the Red Table Talk. We all see the meme of him tearing up, and it's just pain. And it hasn't been a good 2 years for Will Smith. So Chris Rock does what he says, and it seems like he's fed up. I put seems in quotation marks on purpose. It seems like he's fed up, and he goes and smacks Chris Rock, and the rest is history. If that is the take right there, because there's different variation. If that's the take, does he have a reason to smack Chris Rock?
Go ahead, Jet.
No, I don't think you ever have a reason to just smack somebody in the face or punch somebody or anything like that. Especially as a response to a joke. Like I'm all for defending your family and protecting your family, and I think that that's a really important, characteristic. Whether it's a son to a mother or a father, or a parent to their kids, husband to wife, whatever. I think that's important. You want to make sure that you feel like you're protecting your family, but doing it that way, I feel like isn't protecting your family. That's just opening yourself up to more criticism and opening your family up to saying, okay, well, they can't take a joke. Like Chris Rock's job is a comedian. Like, yeah, okay, he's an actor and he's done all sorts of stuff, but like that's his primary job. That's how he came up. Of all the jokes Chris Rock has made in his life, I would venture to say this is probably the 10,000th least offensive joke that he's made. This was not like I know, and I'm sure Marv, you're going to get into it and we explain more that she has like alopecia and has talked about her medical condition. And was it like the most sensitive joke in the world? No, but Will Smith's a smart guy, and Will Smith's a quick guy, and I feel like if he really wanted to get back at Chris Rock for this, just zing Chris Rock back. There's so many ways to do it other than this. So, like, to answer your question, Marv, if he was tired, yeah, he's been having a tough go of it for 2 years, but this was supposed to be the end of it because this was his night where his 30-plus year acting career
Redemption.
paid off, and he got that Oscar that he's been wanting for so long, and that, frankly, he's deserved for so long. And that was supposed to be his moment of redemption. And it's like his brain broke in that moment, and all the stuff that's been going on with him, personally, privately, whatever, over these past 2 years or something like that, he didn't think properly anymore, and it ruined what should have been the greatest moment of his life, other than the birth of his kids.
Look, I'm gonna say this, and I want this to make sure it's clear to everybody. If you think Chris Rock made that joke knowing that Jada is suffering from alopecia, I think you got it completely twisted. I understand comedians, they crack jokes on people, stand up comedy, whatever. People sitting in the audience, they'll go in on whatever. I get it. I firmly don't believe Chris Rock would have that knowledge that Jada's dealing with alopecia and
Absolutely
make
not.
a joke like that. That's very savage like. And Chris Rock is a well-respected comedian, actor, everything else he does. I don't think Chris Rock is that much of a savage to do that. And, these are people that are probably in the same circle, Hollywood, whatever.
Especially in that setting, right? Like the
That
Oscars.
setting,
Like,
like
it's
the
not
Oscars.
it's not like a club where he's doing a set.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not no club. I know Chris has done stand-up all throughout his career early on and whatnot. It's not that type of setting. He's throwing light jabs out there, this and that. He's not going in on any, like Chris Rock has done stand-up. He's probably cursing up a storm, going in and on like that. It's not one of them type of settings. Like I said, he's probably throwing light jabs to people around there and there. And the joke he said to Jada was a light jab. Like, let's call it what it is. Like, yes, we understand she has alopecia and whatnot, but Jada has a bald head, and he made a G.I. Jane joke. And, like, again, light jab. But obviously, with the alopecia aspect, it's bigger. Now, again, I don't believe Chris Rock knew that, so he made that light jab, and he's probably just going to move on. He wasn't thinking much of it. And I think, I've had conversations with people they probably think, oh, that's messed up. He should never did that. And he doubled down and said it was a good joke. Yeah, he made a joke and didn't think it was that serious. That's why when Will Smith came up and smacked him and then he yelled, "Keep my wife's name out your mouth," his response, he didn't respond and say, "Oh, I sorry, I didn't mean it with alopecia." No, he just like, "Yo, I just made a
G.I. Jane joke,
G.I.
bro.
Jane joke." And even with that response, you can tell there again, Chris Rock didn't know anything about her having alopecia. But again, Will Smith knows that, and having conversation with friends throughout the day, on top of everything that Will Smith and Jada have been going through and dealing with throughout the last 2 years, this alopecia thing, obviously you don't know what kind of conversations in emotions Jada is displaying at home and whatnot. You don't know. So was this a major trigger for her, for Will Smith? Yeah. But again, Chris Rock doesn't know this. He's just telling jokes on stage to keep the Oscars rolling around. My question is, and I can't wait to hear both of your thoughts on this. Will Smith, in the span of, I don't know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds,
I was getting there.
went from laughing about the joke to hopping on the stage to smack that man.
Yep.
What the hell happened in that 5 seconds, that 10 seconds, whatever it was? Because the camera panned to Will Smith and Jada right after Chris Rock made the joke. And Will Smith, he's laughing. Then it panned back to Chris Rock. And in a few seconds, you see Will Smith going up on stage. What happened?
It's like It's like that clip of Kanye, right, where he's like smiling courtside at a game one time, and then he realizes the camera's on him, and he puts back, the serious face.
Like that. Just like that. A snap of fingers. What happened there?
That's the key right there, Mike. That's the whole thing that doesn't make any sense. Because you mentioned it's a light jab. You mentioned how it wasn't too serious, and like Will Smith is not a dumbass. Like he's a smart man. He understands these things are going to happen. So he's clapping and laughing. We are in the same video that he's clapping and laughing. Jada's not clapping and laughing, right? Jada's like she rolls her eyes a bit. She seems a little upset about it. Boom, goes back to Chris Rock. He's ready to do another joke and move on with his life. 5 seconds. That's what he goes out and says, and Richard's coming, and Will Smith smacks him. So clearly something had to have been said in those 5 seconds for Will to just become a freaking android, get on stage, smack a man, show no emotion, walk back down, and flip off. Don't talk about my wife. Bro, what? You was just laughing and clapping. What did Jada say in those 3 seconds? Oh, you thought that was funny, mother effer? Did she say, nah, go handle that? Like, something had to have been done.
I see some people come in the comments said Will Smith's been mad at Chris Rock since 2016 because he's been coming at Will and Jada. Was that what triggered Will to go up on the stage and smack the man?
That's even softer then.
You mad about something? I don't even know what happened in 2016. But 2016 and then
it was the Oscars then too, Mike. It was so like that was the year it was like that hashtag, Oscars so white, and they didn't nominate any black directors, actors, actresses, anything like that year. Do you remember that?
I remember they boycotted and such, and Chris Rock.
Right. So Jada was one of the people who boycotted, and Chris Rock, I don't know if he was the host or he was a presenter or whatever, and he basically said, "You can't boycott something you weren't invited to." As a joke to Jada. It's like, he said it's the same thing as like that's the same reason with like me and Rihanna's panties. Like I wasn't invited, so I can't really boycott it. So. It was just another joke. Like, again, this guy's been making so many worse jokes, like in terms of offensiveness for so long. Like, he's one of the greatest stand-ups of all time. Like, I'm sure when he made this joke about G.I. Jane, he's probably like, oh man, I can't think, like, I have, 20 seconds. What's a cheap, like, quick joke that I could do that's just like you said, like nothing, harmless. And so I think of all the people who were shocked in the room last night and watching, I kind of feel like he was the most shocked because he's like, I've toured throughout the world and told way worse jokes than this, and no one has come up on stage and physically attacked me before. And this is a guy that, he's known Will Smith for like 30 years. And Jada, like they did all those Madagascar movies together. Like he's not some stranger. Like they know each other.
So I see people saying it was a fake laugh. We got Kiki saying that's a laugh that I'm about to rock this dude. It didn't come off as that. It did
It
not
looked like
come
he
off
was
of
genuinely
like
laughing because he thought it was funny.
yeah. And even if it was a fake laugh, why you fake laughing? If it's that serious that you gotta smack a dude, why you fake laughing? Be upset from the jump. Jada didn't fake laugh.
Jada was mad from the jump. As soon as the joke was cracked, Jada was mad. It's just
Oh
a
no, she was
really
serious as a heart attack. She was
it
not.
was a yeah, it was a really wild transition to see Will Smith go from laughing. I swear he clapped his hands a couple times and laughed to let me go on stage and smack you. It's a wild transition, which goes back to me saying, once that camera panned away from Will laughing, what was said? Did
Exactly.
Jada said something to him? You know, some people saying Jada maybe said something to him. Some people saying Will Smith was laughing, but then looked and saw the pain in Jada's face and then said, okay, let me do something about it. We don't know. Will we ever know? I'm not sure. But it's a wild transition to go from
Like my thing is, so the joke is about making fun of Jada and her bald head, right?
mm-hmm.
Why don't you just come on stage and just talk about, oh, yo, I think my wife is beautiful. Like my wife is beautiful, how she looks, like she's going, we're going through, like you want to, everyone's saying, oh, he protected his queen and this and that. Come out and talk about how beautiful your wife is, Jada Pickett Smith, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like this is Jada Pickett Smith, a beautiful woman. Go out and talk about how beautiful your wife is.
And that's why the whole world knows that Will Smith was tapped and triggered from a lot of stuff that's
Yeah,
been
it
happening
had
over the
nothing.
years.
It didn't have really much to do with Chris Rock and his joke. It was just another jab at him where he's like, "All right, yo, I gotta.
And he snapped.
This is gonna be the way they see that I'm from West Philly."
He
Like,
smacked. I mean, sorry, he snapped. He snapped. Because, like you said, Marv, Will Smith, a clean cut guy in the public eye. He ha ha, Will Smith jokes, the great man, Fresh Prince, this and that. He could have easily went up in there. Like I said, I don't know Chris Rock and Will Smith's relationship, but I'm assuming they're like cool or something. But he could have easily went up there and be like, yo, Chris Rock, chill out. That's my wife. She beautiful. This he could have been simply Will Smith.
I
and
think
Will
yo,
everybody
Smith we've known.
would have loved that moment and be like, "That's awesome."
they
Oh
would have
my
ate that
goodness.
up.
And Chris Rock, like I said, I don't think Chris Rock was doing it any malice or malicious way. He probably just agreed with him and kept the show rolling like he did after the smack. But it was a ticking time bomb in Will Smith where, you know what? I can't take this anymore. They've been clowning me since August. Red table talk, they've been coming at me in my sex life. And Jada been putting my business out. And she's Tupac in her mind is, I gotta do something. And he
But
went up there.
the
Why
worst thing,
can't
Mike,
you
is
bring
like
up Tupac, dog?
he was 30 minutes away from it just not ever mattering ever again. If you just 30 more minutes just wait it out, then the conversation is all about, wow, look at all this stuff Will Smith's overcome and like the culmination of all this stuff. Like he was so close. That's why I think it's such a big story too. Not just because it was so crazy, but like it's like almost like if you're gonna like it to sports, it's like a team that was like at the 1 yard line at the Super Bowl and they've never won a Super Bowl before. And then you
Oh,
choose to,
Seahawks.
instead of hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, you throw the ball. It's like, what? The guy was so close to this being like the ultimate moment, not just for him, but like for his family too. And for, for his parents and for everything he's come through, coming from West Philadelphia, starting as a comedian on a sitcom to coming to win the biggest award in acting. Like the dude was 30 minutes away from that just being the conversation of the night, the only conversation of the night. And it's like, that's why it's kind of tragic in a way. Like I look at Will Smith differently today than I did yesterday. And I think a lot of people do. And that's 100, that's his fault. And like, it shouldn't be. It should be like, good for Will Smith. I'm so happy that dude got his Oscar. Like, that's awesome. That's all people should be talking about today. Instead, he hijacked his own narrative.
I don't look at Will Smith differently how I looked at him past 2 years. What he just did for me is confirm who he really is, bro. Because his energy. Where was the energy? We bringing up August Alsina, his wife. Where was this? Where was this energy during that whole time? That man had a whole damn red table talk with his wife. He could have laid the land of the law right there.
Bro, just put your
Nothing.
foot down.
Bad
And
marriage for life. The man said.
you could have put your foot down in that situation.
Like,
I
You want
see
to
what
keep
Marv
things,
did there.
you want to keep things public and go on round table and talk to your wife about the situation. Put your foot down there. But instead of doing that with your wife and handling it, you want to smack a man who has nothing to do with the situation.
casualty of war.
Nothing. He cracked a joke that had no malicious intent. And that's who you want to take your anger or frustration out. A man who made a song about sleeping with your wife. Your wife going on Roundtable, Facebook Live, whatever the hell the show airs on, and talking about all your personal business. But you want to smack Chris Rock for making a quick little joke about your wife having a bald head, not knowing she's suffering from an illness. It's
Well,
not a good look.
Here's the
Not a
thing,
good look for
too.
Will.
You know who? I think it was the presenter, either one or two presenters before Chris Rock was Jason Momoa. Okay, Jason Momoa makes that joke. Will Smith coming on stage and smacking Jason Momoa in the face.
Bro,
Like,
he picked the perfect person.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he
Like,
measured up Chris Rock. He's like, I can probably get away with this and not get, counter punched or anything like this. I mean, I feel like it was like, which is kind of also sucks for Will Smith, because like if anybody else made that joke, we probably aren't even talking about that joke again. But it was Chris Rock and Will Smith's like, I could probably smack this guy in the face and nothing's gonna happen.
Bro, I seen a meme where they substituted The Rock in. The Rock was the host, and they said Rock made that joke. Is Will Smith going on the stage and smacking Dwayne Johnson?
No,
Not a
not at
chance in
all.
hell.
He's continuing his fake laugh.
Slick, real slick, Will Smith.
We got Weez in the comments here. I like this. He said, fellas, if he smacked Chris and sat down and said nothing, it would have been half decent. Like, okay, he handled business and shut up. No, he slapped bro and then screaming and then crying. My lord.
Yeah,
This-
his acceptance speech. I mean, the
So that was
yelling to
wild.
me
That
is
was
just
so uncomfortable. The speech was really uncomfortable, man.
the
yeah,
speech is
let's
uncomfortable.
transition to that. Let's transition to the speech.
I got another thing I want to bring up for sure, but
I like Derek's comment.
the speech, I got bits and I don't know if I was able to catch the full speech. I got bits and pieces that I came across on YouTube, but it was just, he said, Denzel Washington told me, it's at your best moments, the
I didn't
devil's
like
gonna
that
get
line.
you.
I didn't like that line.
And maybe Denzel did say something like that. I don't know. But like just the whole speech and him bawling his eyes out. I don't know. Like you said, Jets, it just was kind of uncomfortable to watch. Like, then he want to apologize to the Academy. And then he had I hope they invite me back again.
Yeah. But the speech, Mike and Jet, the speech confirmed to me it had nothing to do with the joke. The speech confirmed that it had to do with everything that he's been hearing for the past 2 years. He never brought up Jada. He said, I've been going through it. He mentioned how he's been going through it personally and how he needs to protect himself and his family. That's what he mentioned. This is built up. You go there, you want to apologize. Hey, if he could have easily took that stand, like I said, and spoke up for his wife during that acceptance speech. He could have easily done it. He didn't. He spoke about how he's been going through it, and King Richard inspired him, and all of this, yada yada. It's really, really wild. Let's get to some of the comments here before we continue on here. We got what it said. Chris probably said the joke about Jada instead of Will, figuring she'd handle it better. Irony is he's right. Will started crying like Chris Brown did after the Rihanna ish.
Sheesh.
Did y'all see Samuel L. Jackson dapping Will after the fact? I mean, Will's a likable dude. People love Will, and as they should. He's, by all accounts, he's a great guy. It's just so
Out of
damn weird.
out of character. You would never
Well, it's like,
expect
yeah,
that from
I
Will
could see
Smith.
Samuel L. Jackson smacking somebody in the face. That tracks. Like, it's like, but not
Like,
Will Smith.
here's the other thing I wanted to bring up. And I definitely remember Marv, we was having a conversation with a couple of our friends about this. The fact that Chris Rock didn't really have a reaction.
Let's talk about
I'm sorry, y'all. I wish, part of me was like, damn, I wish Chris Rock smacked him back. But like, again, Will Smith went up there, smacked him real quick, and turned around and hustled off that stage a little bit. So Chris Rock, I guess, couldn't really swing and hit him from behind or push him from behind because, like, that's not ever cool. But like Marv said earlier, you can't really hit somebody and then turn around and walk away like that real quick. But I at least wish, damn, Chris Rock cracked the... After Will Smith yelled that, keep my wife's name out your mouth twice, I wish Chris Rock clapped back with some kind of joke. And because all Chris Rock said was, first he said, look, dude, it was a G.I. Jane joke. And then Will Smith yelled at him again twice for the second time. And then Chris Rock was basically like, all right, dude, I'm sorry. Something like that. I don't know. But I really wish Chris Rock clapped back with some kind of joke like, look, bro, I won't say her name again, but touch me again and you're going to be starring your next movie without an eye. Something, I don't know. Something crazy. I don't know.
The thing is, Mike, you don't prepare to get smacked on national TV.
I get it.
You don't, like,
We're in a
that's just
tuxedo.
like you never plan for that. Like people on Twitter and stuff calling Chris Rock soft or, oh, I would have done this. No, you wouldn't have. Like, Chris Rock handled it honestly the best way that it could have been.
I'm not saying
Yo,
Chris
the fact
Rock is
that he was
soft
able to
because he
even-
had
No, I
no
know you.
reaction.
I know you
Go
know,
on.
Mike. I know
The
you
fact
know.
that he was able to even go on and have the wherewithal to present the award, like, I don't know if anybody other than a professional comedian would be able to just like move on that quickly, because you kind of have to in that line of work, right? Like, if you're of joke bombs, like, you have to move on to the next one. Like,
Yeah.
I think he was just like, he was clearly flustered, because how could you not be? But like, I don't know what else you do in that situation. Like, again, like you said, he turned around pretty quickly. There wasn't going to be they weren't going to let like a brawl on stage happen. That would have been broken up immediately, and also would have been a way worse look. Like,
Oh
I
my
don't know what
God.
else anybody was expecting for Chris Rock to do, other than what
Yeah.
Mike said, like, come up with something really quick. But like, in the moment, I think you're so shocked, it's like your brain almost shuts off. You know you're on live TV. You have to get to this award. So like, I don't know that he could have
it's
handled it any
tough.
better.
I'll tell
It's
you what.
tough.
I know Chris Rock didn't have any crazy reaction, but something was turning in his head. Because first, once Will Smith smacked him, you can kind of see in Chris Rock's body language that he kind of peeped a little bit of a wind up, but he caught himself. Number one.
He did.
Number two, after I think the second keeps my wife's name out your effing mouth, Chris Rock mumbled something like, yo, bro, like, I really wish. And then he just was like,
He stopped himself.
and he
He's-
moved on and was going on to the next presentation. So I know Chris Rock, there's a part of Chris Rock he was of course shocked. He wasn't expecting Will Smith to come on the stage and smack him. But it was 2 points where I kind of seen after he got smacked, he kind of caught himself with a little bit of wind up. And then I feel like he was about to mumble and say something, but caught himself and tried to keep it professional and move on with the show.
Here's the thing with the Chris Rock situation. Like Jet said, he couldn't start a fight. Like, the one thing you couldn't do was start a fight in that situation. As much as it sucks for Chris Rock that he just got bitch slapped in front of the national TV, you couldn't start a fight in that situation, because now Chris Rock ruins his bag. He has to go on to freaking Oprah, all these daily TV
Have a bunch of
shows,
conversations
and
about
have
it.
these conversations and
And that's when
repair
the
his
police start to come in if it's
repair his
melee.
image. He'll never host any. He built up a 30-40 year career to get to this point, and you're gonna lose it all just because a man slapped you. So what if the dude Joe Schmo is tweeting that you're a punk? I'm not gonna lose my bag over something like that. Handled it perfectly. Like there's nothing else that you can do. And then as for like what Mike was saying, a joke, Chris Rock was going to say a joke. He was ready. He handled it perfectly. And that's when I almost called him the Rock because he was wild. That's when Will Smith started screaming, "Keep my wife's name out your mouth. Keep my wife." Because Chris Rock was ready to go on and make some jokes about it. But Will Smith started forcing it. He was like, "All right, dude, you got that, bro. Like, relax, dude. It wasn't that serious. I was making a G.I. Jane joke. Boom."
I have a question for you guys. I saw, so, like you said, it led off on sports programs today, which is wild, but it's just that's what it is. Um, Stephen A, I saw talking about this too. I saw Shannon Sharp talking about it too, and a lot of the conversations I've been seeing about it are like framing it. Besides just the wildness of it, they're framing the situation as like this is a commentary on like privileged people versus not privileged people. Like Will Smith knew he could do this because he's rich and famous. Whereas if it was just like a random person, obviously they wouldn't get away with it. Chris Rock would be pressing charges. Do you think that that's like a conversation that is important to have, or do you think this is just like a one-off because it's like a Will Smith thing with all the stuff that's been going on with him, or do you think that that's like it's a privilege thing?
I think it goes deeper. It goes deeper into that. I mean, he smacked him. It's not like he started throwing rounds in the dude's face or anything like that. Like, yeah, obviously privilege has a big thing to do with it. We mentioned how if it was anybody else like The Rock or Idris Elba, who's not a comedian, something like that, who did it, it would have been a different story. But if you go deeper, it's like Will Smith, if he did that to a white man, this
Mm.
this we're talking a whole different situation here.
Or
There
what if
would
one of
have
the
been.
hosts? There was three female hosts. What if one of them were the ones who made that joke? Because it could have
Oh,
easily been one of them.
let's see if Jada stand up.
She ain't doing nothing.
Let's see. Like it's one off because we've never seen a situation like this before.
Yeah.
It's not like we can compare it to anything.
Yeah,
It was the perfect storm. It happened to be Chris Rock, a dude that's a lot smaller, who's a comedian, who you pretty much know is not going to fight you. You go up there, you smacked him, you went back down. And luckily for you, everyone tuned in to watch you, like to see if you could get the biggest moment of your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's still, like I said, even right now, wild situation. I mean, there was supposedly an apology from Chris Rock. I don't know if it's real or not.
That's not
That
real.
came out,
I saw
but
that Will Smith wrote an apology
Yeah.
on his Instagram.
he did. Yeah, he apologized on Instagram.
Which can I just interrupt for a second, Mike?
Go ahead.
I hate that so much. Like when you see an Instagram apology bothers me so much. Like if you really feel sorry about something or feel bad about it, like do a video, say something. Like it's the same thing. Remember that dude on the Heat? I'm forgetting his name last year. Like he said some
Miles
anti-Semitic stuff. Yeah,
Miles Leonard, something like that.
Myers Leonard. Yeah, he said some anti-Semitic stuff when he was gaming, and like I'm Jewish, so like I thought like at the time I was like, you know what? He doesn't know any better. Like it's coming from a place of ignorance, not a place of hate. Like so I wasn't holding any grudges, but then he put that out like an Instagram statement. It was like, this doesn't represent me. It's just like it's just such. I feel like it's the laziest form of apology. It's just like writing out. Like you don't even know if Will Smith wrote it out or if it was his publicist or whatever. Like I just like people to put a face to it. Like say it in front of a camera or just a voice memo or anything. Like I hate apologies that are just typed out on Instagram and it's like, okay, here it is. Like I just think that's lazy.
Nah,
And if it's something you actually feel bad about, say it. I think
I
that's and
agree.
then you can start to move on.
I agree. And like we said earlier in the show, Will Smith's a guy who's been very active on social media, on YouTube, posting little videos of this and that. You want to post all these little videos different stuff, Will Smith, but you can't post a video apologizing to Chris Rock. You have to type out an apology. I agree with you, Jed, 100%. I don't think that's real genuine. Like, we don't even know if he's the one who wrote that. Um, but yeah, I know, like I said, I don't know if it's real or not, but Supposedly, maybe, possibly, Chris Rock came out with an apology, and even within that apology, again, whether it's real or not, he acknowledged the fact that he did not know uh, about Jada Pinkett Smith's illness. So he apologized to that. Supposedly, like I said, don't know if it's real or not, but he apologized. And I mean,
like you guys said, of course he didn't know. Like he's not
Yeah.
he's not the biggest a-hole in the world. Like he's
yeah,
not going to do
yeah,
that if he knew that. Like
yeah.
at the Oscars, especially. Like maybe if he's trying out material, like he's in his first stand-up shows in Boston. Actually, I think on Friday. It's
Yeah,
since
I know
this
people
incident.
going to
Like
that.
maybe if he's trying out material at like the Wilbur or whatever. Okay, I could see it if he knew that about Jada, but not the Oscars.
Nah.
Yeah, like
Eh,
I think. Go ahead, Marv.
I was gonna say, look, I'm all in agreement of how Chris Rock handled it at that moment. But Will Smith still gotta see me. Like you still we still gotta see each other after that.
Supposedly, they
Kiki said he got dudes in Bed Stuy ready. Like you gotta see me, bro. You still bitch smacked me in front of the whole world. Like th- that's what people.
supposedly they
I'm
squashed
a
it
meme.
after the. They squashed it after.
I
I
don't
don't know
know,
what that
bro.
means.
I'm a damn meme now of
Yeah,
getting smacked. They replaced the Batman smacking Robin meme,
That's
and now
true.
they got they got Will Smith smacking me. Nah, you got to see me,
That's
bro.
not going anywhere either. That one's
That's
gonna
for
stay.
life. That's for
yeah,
life. Every time we see Chris Rock from now on, we're always gonna remember that moment.
yeah. It was a wild situation, and like I said, I don't know. Maybe it made Will Smith feel good for himself that he did that.
For the moment, sure.
Maybe he thinks he's a bigger man in Jada's eyes. I don't know what him or Jada gained out of that situation.
It's gonna be
Um,
worse for Will. It's gonna be because look, some people are lost in a sauce, right? People are gonna look up why the hell did this happen. You're gonna type in Will Smith and Jada, and all this information is gonna come up, and
it
everything is good.
it piles on to all the other stuff that they've been dealing with the last couple of years.
What's the
But that's not like
disease
rumor
called?
mill stuff too, right? Isn't it like it's self-inflicted? Like she's airing out all
She's
this
doing it.
stuff. That's
She's
like
doing it.
I feel
She's the root of all of this,
but
Jay.
I'm saying
She's
like
the
I
root.
feel a lot worse if it's like he said in his speech that's like, people putting my family's names in their mouth and like, I have to protect my family and stuff like that. But like, man, it's your wife who's saying all that stuff. Like, it's not, the Vanity Fair or the National Enquirer. Like, there's paparazzi following him everywhere because he's Will Smith and she's Jada Pinkett. But like,
Like,
they're not making stuff up. She's just like, here it is.
if we're being honest, all the stuff that we've seen and read and everything that's talked about Jada and Will has been because Jada has opened her mouth. Will wasn't airing out no information about the relationship. Not to my knowledge. I know he came out with a book, but I think the
Yeah.
book kind of came out after the fact
Yeah.
when Jada started talking. So if we're being honest, a lot of this Will Smith saying I gotta protect my family and this and that, that's because Jada's been opening her mouth. And because Jada's been opening her mouth, yes, the world has attacked and made fun of and clowned you and your family. But that's on your wife. So if we really get into the root of where all this anger and whatnot came from, the people who really know, that's like we said before, that smack was not truly meant for Chris Rock.
Nah, it
So
wasn't. And sometimes that's just life. You're so upset at something, and it's like you take your anger out on someone. You're like that really wasn't meant for you, but you was just the last person to push my buttons, and you got the wrath of it. But I'm still stuck on what happened in those 5 seconds where we didn't see Will, we didn't see Jada, and he decided to go up there and smack him. I'm
we'll never
stuck on
know.
it.
But something was done in that split second.
They're gonna have to ask Lupita Nyong'o, who is sitting right behind them.
Yo,
That's the
her
source right there.
her reaction is hilarious.
It's hilarious.
I was looking up what's how do you pronounce the disease, the illness?
Alopecia.
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 Yeah.
So I wrote Jada Pinkett Smith, and while I'm writing alopecia, AL August Alsina pops up instead of the illness. August Alsina is the first thing that comes up instead of the illness while I was writing it. So it's like th- he'll never be able to escape this. The punch, the smack, whatever he tried to do, you just getting people to talk about it more.
But don't you think that the best thing that could have happened to him was if he didn't do anything and then just won the award and gave his regular speech? Then that's what people are talking about instead. For them, that's the
I think
conversation, at least for the next while, about Will Smith is, yo, the
Yo,
man finally got his Oscar. Like, not this.
nobody would give a damn about that bald head joke. It would
And I think
happen.
I think he'd get a reprieve from the jokes about Tupac and August and stuff like that for a little bit, because people would just be the main
you would
conversation would be about
celebrating
this.
Will Smith.
At the
Right.
same time, yeah, if Will Smith didn't do that in response to Chris Rock making that joke, Will Smith might have went home and got rashed by Jada Pinkett Smith. You heard what he said and you didn't do nothing. I've been telling you all these years, Will. We don't
It's
know.
possible. It's possible.
We don't know. Jada might have let Will hear it if knowing the alopecia situation, Chris Rock made that joke. Will Smith just laughed it off and went about it. The world wouldn't have thought twice about it. Maybe some people would say, "Oh, he shouldn't have said that with the alopecia," but I don't think we would dive this deep into it. But again, Jada might have got in Will's ass when they got home.
Yeah, man, we should look, man. Bel Air took a dark turn from the Fresh Prince, and Will Smith took a dark turn with it as well. This is this is a new Will Smith.
Life imitates art, right? That's what he said.
Now, last question.
He was
on
King
this.
Richard, and now he is King Richard.
Right. Last question. Does this change how comedians make jokes? Like, I've seen worse jokes in the ESPYs. Well, like, do comedians think twice now?
Right. Anthony Mackie was savage at the ESPYs.
Right. So, like, do comedians think twice? Like, oh man, I might get hit. Or when there's award shows now with Will Smith in it, it's inevitable. You have to bring it up every time.
Let me chill out before Will Smith come on the stage.
You have to. There's always gonna have to be a jab on that, and Will Smith's gonna have to do the fake laugh. When the camera pans on him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see comedians changing on how they go about things, but this is obvious. That's like saying after the Kanye. I mean, obviously it's not as wild as this situation, but that's like the whole were people worried that people are going to come up on stage and say some wild stuff after the Kanye thing? I don't think nothing's necessarily going to change, but we're always going to remember this March 27th or whatever the date was, 2022, when Will Smith went on the stage and smacked Chris Rock. It's always going to be remembered, but I don't think anything will necessarily change with comedy, especially if you keep getting seasoned veteran type comedians go up on this, they're going to crack jokes about the situation, but I don't think they're going to be fearful of something popping off if they crack a joke on somebody.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of comedians, doing radio and stuff, at different stations. There's been a lot of comedians that come on, so I'm friends with a lot of them, and I think that if anything, they'll double down now. They'll be like, we're not going to be intimidated by somebody coming up and slapping us. We're just going to make more jokes. That's sort of their mentality. It is when people try to cancel comedians for making jokes, their mentality is, oh, I'm just going to keep making these jokes. That's just I feel like to be a good comedian, you have to tune that stuff out. And so Chris Rock, like I said, one of the greatest comedians of all time, he's going to be making jokes about this. He's going to have a stand-up special now based around this.
Coming in Boston on Friday. It's definitely people's going to be
20 minutes.
20 if that wasn't sold out, has to be. Yeah, if that wasn't sold out, then it's sold out now.
Oh, absolutely.
But so I mean, then my last question would be to you guys. This, I think I just answered it with the Chris Rock part, but do you think Will Smith's career is going to be affected by this?
No.
I think he kind of saved his career with his speech, going up there in the waterworks and everything.
He's not going to be less famous, I'm saying, but okay, he was in Aladdin, right? Is Disney going to want to keep giving him a lot of money?
At the end of the day,
sort of thing.
At the end of the day, I think what's really gonna come out of it is Will Smith was trying to protect his family and his wife,
Yeah,
and it was something wild that happened, but he's built up such a positive image that this thing I don't think is gonna
yeah.
it's gonna
He
really damage who he is.
he deserves to be able to have that chance to do another Disney movie and stuff. Like this is really a one off on him. A crazy one off, but it's a one off. Like he's built up such, like Mike said, he's built up such a reputation that he'll deserve to do other kid movies and kid choice awards or whatever it is. And that's just it happens. These things happen and we're gonna move on we're never gonna forget. We're gonna move on from it. Sam says Will and Chris gonna present an award together next year. I hope not. Like I said, Chris Rock, man, forgive but never forget. You like I'm a whole meme. And I didn't sign up for it. This memes of boxers getting beat up on the floor. They signed up for that. I ain't signed up for this. I'm all set for presenting an award with Will Smith.
Wild. What a wild night in live TV history.
It's
That's what it boils down to.
That is kind of like it almost saves a lot of these live TV things. I think people were like are on the chopping block because nobody really watches anymore. But it's like the more stuff like this happens, the more people are gonna be like, "Oh, I should watch this live." Like you said, Marv, you weren't watching it live. Mike fell asleep, 8 hours before it happened, and so like I feel like this is gonna be like, "Oh, I can't miss this award show." Like somebody could do something crazy at this one. Like
Yeah.
it's the last thing that like. That's why sports are so valuable to advertisers, right? Because nobody records a game for the most part. Like most people are watching it live. You don't want to because you'll get spoiled otherwise. So like, I feel like for people who do live award shows, anything like that's a live thing where things can go crazy, suddenly there's going to be a renewed interest in watching it because you're like, I don't want to miss. I want to be part of this conversation. I don't want to miss this. I don't want to be Mike Molyneaux and wake up to 300 text messages and have no idea what's going on.
Oh man.
That's crazy. That's a lot, man. A lot on Will Smith and Chris Rock. We just did an hour on that.
Yeah. Deservingly so.
Yeah. It deserved a quick reaction. I'm glad everyone here wanted to break it down. Thank y'all. But real quick while we have Jet here, we trying to do a quick 5-minute segment on the Celtics.
Oh yeah.
While we here. Quick 5 minutes on the Celtics. Rob Williams done. Probably for the season. I mean, we'll see if Celtics could get it to the conference final. But can we just talk about the turnaround from 11th place to first place, please? Can we just talk about how I don't think I can ever compare this to anything else in sports.
No,
I can't think of it.
I wish we could have had this conversation yesterday where I didn't feel so depressed, about
Yeah.
the Williams thing. 'Cause it's like hard to focus on the positives, but like my wife doesn't really follow basketball at all, and I watch every game obviously, and I've been for the first half of the season, she's like, "Oh, how'd the Celtics do?" I was like, "They're awful. They're causing me like sleepless nights. They're like the worst thing that's ever happened to me." And now like the past like couple months, I'm like, "Oh, they just beat another team by 20." She's like, what? What are you talking about? Like you said they were terrible. I was like, I've been watching basketball for 30 years. I've never seen anything like this in my life. In season, I've never seen anything like
Never.
this. You think they literally woke up one day and was like, oh, we're gonna be good now. We're gonna start playing good basketball from playing terrible basketball. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and it's not like they did make some changes, but like the core players who've been there from the beginning of the season are all still there. I understand there's a couple of injuries here and there, and some guys miss time, but like your main players have been there all season. So for your main players to start the year and struggle as bad as they did, to then flip it to being the number one seed in the conference, it's really why I keep trying to think of a time where something like this has happened. The only time, and I know I brought this up to Marv, I think once, the only thing I can somewhat think of with the Celtics, I forgot, maybe 2010 is when they were like 500 all season long. They made it to the playoffs, and then they just ran through everybody all the way to the finals. I know it's not quite as similar as to what happened this season, but
Th- They,
it's
they weren't 500 though. They just weren't the top three team. They were just the fourth seed team.
they,
You know, they looked old, and then they got to the playoffs,
something
and
like
they
that. Maybe they weren't 500, but they just
yeah.
looked like an old, like, okay, this team ain't it. They don't have it anymore. They lost the momentum and gas. And then they got to the playoffs and they just ran through everybody all the way to the finals. That's the only thing I can somewhat think that's somewhat similar, but not. I don't.
That doesn't it doesn't happen in basketball unless there's like a huge trade, right? That's like, all right,
Yeah.
the Celtics played a lot better when they got Isaiah Thomas at the trade deadline, years back. But like that was obviously they traded nothing to get a guy who ended up being a year or so later a top 5 MVP candidate. So like that makes sense. Like you guys said, like their roster, their personnel hasn't changed much. I mean, they traded Dennis Schroeder. They got Derek White, who Derek Menard does not like, apparently, even though they share the same name. You know what? I was talking about this on my basketball podcast with John Sapichetti, friend of mine and Mike's. What I think I discounted at the beginning of the season, because I was giving Ime Udoka a really hard time because I thought he looked lost. I think that as somebody who doesn't play professional sports, I don't know if you can tell that by looking at me, but as somebody who doesn't play professional basketball, I think I came at it too much of a fan perspective and didn't realize that it takes time to install a completely new system and get the trust of your players. And whereas I thought Ime Udoka was struggling because he'd never been a head coach before, I think it was struggling because it was taking longer than he maybe thought to get the players to do what he wanted them to do. And then once he was able to have the sort of defensive practices and switching that he wanted them to, like, finally it clicked for them, then the team started winning. So like I gave him a lot of credit because I think that he stuck with something that it didn't look like it was working at first. And then once it worked, they've been playing the best basketball in the NBA for 2.5 months now.
Yes, correct. I remember this in the beginning of the season, talking to Mike and like, yo, Ime's got to stop this switching shit. Like this switching defense is not working at all. He needs to give it up and let's go. And they stuck with it. And obviously, Celtics took a while to understand his defense, and now that's their calling card, number one defense in the league, and they've been rolling. But the turnaround has been crazy. Tatum, it, Tatum, Jesus, like I
Yeah.
don't even I it's crazy. He's really arrived. Like he's done this the past 2-3 years where after All-Star break, he goes on this amazing run. This time seems different though. This one looks like, oh, this is the Tatum we're gonna get for the next 10 years. And it's scary.
Well, this is the
Let's hope.
best, I'd say, individual performance or season from a Celtic, I think, since KG's first year in Boston. I'd say this season from Jason Tatum.
Yeah, if he can put this type of season together, like right now, he's doing it from January to hopefully he can carry it to all the way to the end of the year. If he can put this type of season together from October to April, easily MVP candidate, top in the conversation without a doubt. Like right now, people say, is he top 5? Should he be in the conversation? Like, if he can put this together from the start of the season all the way to the end of the season and the Celtics can be a top seed, it's an automatic MVP conversation. I think this year, obviously, he's not going to get MVP. Obviously, I don't believe Rob Williams or Smart will get Defensive Player of the Year, but they should maybe be considered for first or second team all defense. But I definitely think Ime has a great shot at winning Coach of the Year. I think he definitely has a good shot at winning Coach of the Year. I know, as we were recording here live, the Celtics just lost to the Raptors in overtime, and I believe the Heat won. So I think the Celtics have fallen back to the second seed, a half a game out of first place. But if they can stay right there, second seed or first seed by the time the season's over, and with this crazy turnaround, I think Ime is easily, candidate for Coach of the Year without a doubt. I
Yeah.
know there's the Memphis coach and
Monty Williams to me is number one.
Yeah, he's a great coach. I mean, he's just a
He
great
Phoenix,
coach.
he's
Phoenix as well. The way they've run through the league this year, but Ime definitely has to be in consideration as well.
think Ime's number two. Think if Phoenix gets like 65 wins this year, it's Monty Williams. Like what Celtics are doing now, Phoenix has been doing since the beginning of the year.
That's
Like they're
true.
not
They
just
had no lulls. They've just
no
been
laws, and they've been
killing teams.
battering teams. Like
Yeah,
not just winning. Phoenix has
without
been
Chris
running through
Paul
the
too
league.
for a good
Without
portion
Chris
of it.
Paul,
So definitely,
Devin Booker's game's taken a huge leap too, and I think a lot of that has to do with Monty Williams. No, he's a great coach. I mean, he's a really, really great coach. The thing, just quickly to touch on the Robert Williams injury and why I think it hurts them so badly. When we're talking about the switching defense, right? It's a switching defense that basically you switch and then you try to funnel teams into players into Rob Williams because he's one of the best athletes in the league, of a league of fantastic athletes. He covers so much ground that you can get beat slightly on a switch, and if you're directing a guy towards the paint, he's still there to cover your ass and be able to block a shot or alter a shot. And I think Daniel Tice is a solid player, and it's a good thing they have him because otherwise they'd be having Cantor, who can't play any defense. But it's just the amount of ground Rob Williams can cover with that switching defense makes it so hard for teams to score on the Celtics. And without him, the defense, it's a completely different sort of philosophy you have to have. And I don't know. I felt pretty confident that, they could get to the Eastern Conference Finals with him. And then, it depends on who they play. Without him, if he is done and can't come back in the postseason, I don't know how they can get out of the second round. I think they'd have a really hard time.
I don't see them getting past the second round without Rob Williams. We mentioned the defense, but I'm thinking offensively, what he brings to the table is huge for them. Just the little things that he does offensively, just being that lob threat in itself, where teams have to look out for that, so they can't just double team on Brown when he's running in, or double team on Jason Tatum, because that's an easy lob threat right there. The offensive rebounding that he's been displaying these past couple months have been ridiculous, where you can shoot with confidence now due to the fact that Rob Williams is there in the middle that can clean up the glass. Him and Marcus Smart, the pick and roll, amazing. It hurts offensively just as much as we lose defensively with them. Yes, we got Al Horford, who knows the system, but you can't, if you're gonna start playing Al Horford 30 plus minutes a game, you're not gonna get much out of him in the second round. You got Daniel Tyson. He's a great insurance policy, but Tyson's very limited. And there's times when you watch Tyson on this team, be like, yo, when is Rob getting back? When are these Daniel Tyson minutes up? Because we got to get Robert Williams back in the game. It's going to be a huge challenge. I think Jaylen Brown, now that he's settled in his role as the number 2 guy, no longer battling 1A, 1B. He's solidified the number 2. It's Jason Tatum's team. He's been comfortable now. He's been able to find his spots. He's going to have to take another bigger step in the playoffs that I don't know if he has in him yet to take that step for the Celtics to go Eastern Conference Finals.
We're gonna see. Like, one thing I've been doing with this team, I haven't gotten too hyped on the championship talk with all. I'm just riding the wave, and yes, the Robert Williams injury definitely hurts, but I'm just riding the wave wherever it takes us. First round, second round, Eastern Conference Finals, whatever the case may be. I'm just happy. I'm just happy to see that Tatum is tapped into an elite level. And, like you said just now, Marv, I think Brown has accepted the fact that, okay, I'm the Robin. I'm going to add my piece in. Tatum's going to get his 30-something. I'm going to be right there with my 20-something. And, you got Smart playing a great role, facilitator and defensive player, and Robert Williams. And the future's bright. Continue to put the solid pieces around them. The future's bright. The season's been fun to watch, especially the second half, obviously, but I definitely believe this future's bright, especially with your core 4 guys that you officially have now.
Yeah, my last point just about that, Mike, is that I feel like this year, kind of like in the bubble year, it's wide open to actually win a title because Brooklyn doesn't have, Brooklyn, exactly, Marv. That's why it hurts. Like Brooklyn doesn't have their stuff together. Like Ben Simmons probably isn't coming back this year. next year they're going to be a lot more dangerous. You look at, I'm sure, I don't know that the Lakers will be title contenders next year, but they'll certainly be better next year. The Warriors are going to improve because those young guys like Moody and Kuminga are going to get better. Wiseman's going to play for them next year. Like, you don't know where Bradley Beal's going to end up. Like, he could end up on a Heat. He could end up on a Sixers team. Like, it's open this year. And that's why the injury really hurts. Cause like, there's no dominant team. There's no super team. And so like the Celtics seemed up until this injury to have as good a chance as any. And like we've seen in the NBA, like those chances don't come very often. Like you have to capitalize on when they're done. It's nothing they did wrong. It's not their fault. They're just like, for the past like 10 years, they've been so unlucky with injuries.
Cursed.
It sucks. It's brutal. I just want to recognize that this team really, man, I was done with them. I was completely done with the Boston Celtics. And I'm back. And I'm excited. I think one person that we didn't bring up much is Marcus Smart. I think he's been the real key to this whole turnaround. Just I was ready to get rid of him, just get him off the team, and I thought he lost a step defensively. He's incredible defensively right now. I don't know if he just lost some weight. He looks more agile, more athletic, and now he's doing an amazing job on the offensive end, getting everybody involved, being that point guard that we kind of thought we were drafting into, I don't remember what year, but 6th pick or whatever. And now he's really becoming that guy, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah, I think he deserves a ton of credit for why. I mean, if you look at when they started turning things around, it's exact same time that he returned from injury. And, talking about Jaylen Brown accepting his role, I think Marcus Smart accepting his role has been even bigger. And it's like, you don't need to be the guy to shoot 12 times a game. We're good for guys who can score and shoot threes. Like, we have that. We need you to run the offense and be the point guard and then play, elite defense. And I think once he was like, yes, this is my role, then the team started firing all cylinders because like he's good at that. He's a really smart basketball player, no pun intended. Like he just needed to find what he's good at. And there's a lot of things he's good at. He just doesn't happen to be a great 3-point shooter. And once he was like, all right, I feel comfortable enough in my game to know that these guys can pick up the slack. Like if I'm not shooting 12 times a game, we're still going to be able to score enough points. And I don't have to be that guy who's shooting threes.
Shout out to this team's turnaround. We're gonna see where they go. One thing that I know for sure, like Marv said, I'm back. And I'm gonna be tuned into every game from here on out. There was definitely times where I took weeks off from watching the Celtics, games off. I'd get home from work, Celtics are playing. What else is on TV? Maybe I'll go to bed.
It helped in the early years when it was the NFL was on.
Yeah.
Goodness.
But I'm back, like Marv said, I'm back. And, as they march into the playoffs, they're down a guy. Fingers crossed that maybe he can come back, second round. We'll see. But if you have Tatum and Brown doing what they're supposed to do and Smart still there and just guys step up, hey, we'll see. We'll see.
Definitely, Mike, you trying to take us home, bro?
Got you. This has been a special edition of Double M Live, joined by our guy Jet, who, great friend of the Double M family, who's definitely going to be rocking with us as we continue to march along, as we gear up for our next season 4, loading up. We have episode 99 dropping with myself and our executive producer, Sam, aka Cutie with a Gap. Special guest for that episode, James Stewart, is going to be joining us to talk a lot of things WWE and WrestleMania coming up this weekend. So join us.
Undertaker fighting.
Stu Marv. That goes to show you how much Marv is into wrestling right now. Asking about the Undertaker.
I ask that every year.
Every year, Marv asks about Undertaker. He don't get it.
Stone Cold is though.
Stone Cold's coming back.
Am I wrong to ask, Jet? Am I wrong?
Tune in for
No, man,
Stone Cold's
he's the
appearance, Marv,
phenom.
if you'd like. But yeah, episode 99, and then we got a special things popping off for episode 100. More information will be dropping with that coming up soon. But stay tuned to Double M. Shout out to Jet joining us. Jet, we always appreciate you, man. Can't wait to have
Yeah,
you on
man.
again.
I always love coming on. I mean, I'd come on every show if you guys would let me. But I'm excited for the WrestleMania episode 100. You know, I love watching you guys' stuff. There's no reason you guys shouldn't be way bigger than you are. This show is really, actually, really fun to watch and participate in. So I hope it
Hey,
just
man.
continues to
Bro.
blow up.
Thank you.
We trying to continue to shoot for the moon as season 4 rolls around, but keep rocking with us and stay tuned. For Marv, my brother Marv over there, I'm Mike Nice. Shout out to Jet again. This has been Double M Special Edition. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everybody in the comments. Have a good night, and we shall see y'all real soon.
Peace.